Well, I think we're going to get it started. It's the top of the hour. We're about 5 minutes past the hour, and like I said, it's going to be fast and furious tonight. I just want to go over some significant points as I see them as related to the Solera product and the Unugen opportunity. But more importantly, I think I'll just stick to the agenda here. There's about 5 items that I mentioned in the email that I sent out to everyone that I want to cover. And the first one probably being the most important, which is a better understanding of what the stress response may feel like in your own body. And in your own body, it's different than everyone else's body. There are some obvious similarities. Let's talk a little anatomy first, just to get real clear. Where does this all start? Well, it starts from a gland called the adrenal gland, okay? And that adrenal gland plays a really important role in your body. It's about the size of a walnut, sits on top of your kidneys, and its most important job is to ramp up production of stress hormones when you're under stress. And stress hormones, one of which is what I call one of the nuclear hormones of the body. That's just my language for it. It's one of the most powerful hormones in the body, and that's called cortisol. So when we're under stress, a lot of that cortisol pumps itself into your bloodstream essentially, and all of a sudden you're very ramped up. And you're ramped up for what may be a threat, yet there may be no threat at all. And that threat can take on sizable proportions. It could be that you've got a virus, you could have a virus on your computer, and all of a sudden you find yourself flipping out because you can't get your computer to do what you had hoped it would do. It could be you have an argument with your partner. It could be social anxiety at a dinner party. It could be anything that overwhelms you that normally you would not be so overly affected by. But when there's a lot of cortisol pumping through your body, of course you're not only overwhelmed. Very often, it's a sick response. It's an ill response to what would normally be something that was rather inane and easy to manage. So it's kind of like, I put it this way, when you're having a stress response, the way to tune into that is to understand this. I mean, this is kind of I'm going to tell the frog in the water story now, okay? This frog in the water story kind of puts it all in perspective. I don't know if any of you have ever read the book or watched the movie, The Inconvenient Truth. Al Gore put that together. Of course, his metaphor was very different. He was talking about the complacency of the human race on this planet, allowing ourselves to basically boil ourselves on this planet by not paying attention to this very slowly yet rapidly evolving predicament with our environment. And the metaphor that I'm using here, as the frog in the water story goes something like this. You can heat the water. You put a frog in water and you heat the water very slowly, and eventually the water comes to a boil. Well, that frog will just sit there and sit there and sit there as the water warms to a boil. And by the time the water is boiling, the frog has expired. To his own demise, he sat in that water until it boiled. If you take the same frog and you put it in water that's already boiling, that frog will frantically attempt to jump out of the water. Now, here's the point. I believe that's what's happening is that the human body and human beings are allowing ourselves to boil. And the boiling point actually comes when slow creep illness, as it were, chronic illness, begins to become very acute. So when it turns to or into blood pressure, when it turns to cancering, when it turns to diabetes, an inability for your body to manage specific kinds of metabolism, when it comes to a point where your body simply cannot handle what it naturally and with its inborn intelligence handles every day from the day you're born, why is it that all of a sudden things begin to deteriorate, and they deteriorate rapidly, especially inside of an ongoing stress response that you're simply not tuning into. And there are a lot of ways to tune in, and there are a lot of things that we can, of course, we can do to reduce the stress response in our body. But what I have found in clinical practice over the many years I was in clinical practice was that most people are so out of tune, are so disconnected with their own bodies, with their own stress response, that by the time they come into a doctor's office, they're in terrible pain or something else is actually going on and is developing at a rapid pace symptomatically. And what I've also found is that all the many therapies that are out there, and there are thousands, from acupuncture to chiropractic to massage to heart math to meditation to anything you can name that would have been designed to actually assist or support someone in their healing process, all those therapies have to work much harder because there's a weight that's actually sitting on the shoulders. That stress response is creating a sort of thickness, an inability, or let's call it an obstacle for healing to occur. So some of you who have been on my calls in the past understand that there is a capacity, an inborn and innate potential for our bodies to heal ourselves. But what happens is the overwhelming toxicity and other kinds of stresses that play into this picture I'm talking about. So tuning into your own stress is very important. It is important to go and be assisted and supported by various therapies. The only point I'm making about those therapies is that they have to work much harder to strip away these layers of stress. And without those layers of stress, well, the job of the practitioners would be easier, but it would also be easier for you, of course, to manage in general, for your body to be self-directed in its ability and its inborn ability to heal itself. So when you think about the major systems of your body, and I'll only name a few: hormonal system, immune system, digestive system, cardiovascular system. These are major systems in the body that, frankly, you have little control over other than the fact that you were born with an inborn intelligence that manages them, that there's a self-regulating, self-directive that's built in to this incredible miracle, the machine that you're walking in, this physiology that you're walking in. Now, what happens to all of that machinery that is so well designed? Well, there are stressors. There are physical stressors, emotional stressors, chemical stressors, spiritual stressors, dietary stressors. And physical stressors may look like you have an experience of infections. It could be Lyme disease. It could be herpes. You could suffer from allergies, food sensitivities. It could even be that you've just run a marathon. These are physical stressors to the body. Emotional stressors might look like work pressures, financial or relationship problems, unresolved trauma and abuse, feeling unworthy, not good enough, pushing yourself to overachieve all the time. Just examples of chemical stressors. Your liver may be overloaded by toxins. I've talked a lot about this over the last 3 or 4 years. Xenoestrogens, antibiotics, prescription drugs. Sandra was just talking about that earlier. These are all chemical stressors to the body. Chemo, radiation being extreme. Spiritual stressors. You feel a lack of purpose or direction in life. And that is a big one out there today. Dietary stressors. Overloaded on carbs, caffeine, high sugar foods. We've talked about all this stuff. So, and then what manifests are the chronic gut issues, like constipation, diarrhea, bloating, IBS, leaky gut, food sensitivities, right? They can all lead to adrenal fatigue. And adrenal fatigue occurs when those little glands that I mentioned were about 5 grams, like the size of a walnut, the shape of a walnut, sitting on top of your kidneys. Those little glands have huge amount of power because they ramp up and produce the stress hormones. The problem is that we're not actually being chased by a lion all the time. We just think we are. So once you tune in to your own stress, you can get a better handle on what it might take to support yourself. So Solera, the product Solera, a combination of plants, I won't detail the plants, not on this call, but these plants, as they're co-extracted, synergize. In essence, they're creating a molecular alchemy. They're amplifying each other, and the ultimate positive outcome is that they support human physiology. They actually act as a support to bring calm and peace. I call that homeostasis. Well, I don't, because science calls it homeostasis. I call it the bullseye on the target that's on the wall. That place of perfection where your body is able to heal itself with its own intelligence, self-directing, self-regulating. Calm and peace is the end result. And now the lion's just disappeared. You recognize that the lion is behind a fence in the zoo, for example, or you're not being chased by a pack of wolves any longer. That computer virus just doesn't bother you the same way. That's the ultimate outcome. So there are lots of ways to measure that for yourself, and I think it's a great thing that the Nuyujian company actually provided a tracking mechanism for that. And that's the tracking sheet I want to mention. And that tracking sheet will help you tune in. Will help you tune in to your own stress response. And you'll notice if you look at it, and I hope all of you've done that there's a column for before you even get started. So you want to look at your stress tolerance. You want to look at your tension and anxiety that you experience on a daily basis. Maybe your attitude, energy in the morning, your energy in the afternoon. What's your level of endurance? How quickly do you recover from exercise? What is the quality of your sleep? What's your mental clarity and what's your focus like? Memory, mood swings, temper, headaches, all of these things I mentioned. And one of the big ones, and I'm going to talk about my direct experience now over the last 2 or 3 months, is a feeling of well-being and a zest for life. Now, these are all on the list. I'm just reading them right off the list. You'll be able to see that yourself on your questionnaire. And I really encourage everyone to do exactly what I'm doing, which is I gave them a number as instructed on the sheet, and then 7 days I gave them another number, 14 days later another number, 21 days, end of 1 month, end of 2 months, end of 3 months, because and one of the points in the email I sent to everyone is that it's a 90-day commitment to make any significant physiological change. It's always a 90-day commitment. And what I've noticed is after 90 days, it becomes a lifestyle commitment. And, well, let's put it this way. You've fallen in love with a group of plants that can forever support that place of calm and peace that allows your body to self-regulate and self-direct as it was born to do. So that all the major systems of your body then work. And they not only just work, they work optimally. So my direct experience with the Solera product so far, and as some of you know, or many of you know, I love great products. I look for products that have peculiar qualities, and those qualities have to be, one, it's a standard I've set for myself based on, my experience in life and in living in this body for 65 years, is that I want purity. I want whatever it is to be as clean as it can be for me, and I wouldn't recommend it otherwise. And I want it to have very high quality, and for me that means an impact that I know I can feel, and I can be pretty certain that everyone else will feel. True, not everyone else is going to feel the same thing that you feel. And your experience is not going to be like everyone else's experience. For someone else, they may feel it more or less as an impact. But given time passing, they all human physiology, I'm convinced, will feel the contribution that adaptogens make, which is to bring you to that bullseye on the target where more peace and calm is experienced, where that zest for life and that global sense of well-being, oh, I've got issues going on in my life. I know it. I've got trouble with my granddaughter. I've got trouble with my son. I've got some financial issues over there. My God, the world looks like the sky is falling. Well, all of that may or may not be happening. It's all imaginary to some degree. And to some degree, it's reality, possibly. But how you manage it and how your physiology responds to that is very different. And that's what you get to manage and be supported by when you take this particular product. It's very clear to me. For me, there were three things that happened. I have appointments that back up. I have them almost on the half hour. I'm extremely busy in my life. And I could be moving from across three different planes of subject matter. So, my brain goes from here to there, and that can become and had become very stressful for me. I'll be the first one to admit that. And when my appointments back up, I get stressed, internally stressed. I can literally feel it down the center of my chest inside. And measured, that's called hypertension. And I wasn't liking what was going on. So I was really grateful when I had heard about these adaptogens combined as they were, and the man behind the formulation, Mark Priemer, and his brilliance and his credibility. And then when I took the product, as I promised I'm going to be moving fast and furious here, when I took the product, I could actually experience, while I was holding the tonic in my mouth, which is a good thing to do to allow it to absorb before you swallow it, I could get a sense of the intelligence and the balance in the formulation itself. And when you've taken a lot of nutritional products, that sensibility develops. And it was clear to me that all of that was true. And then in my own experience, I noticed I was much calmer moving from appointment to appointment. Much calmer. It was night and day. And then I noticed, and adaptogens, or these plants, are also well known for supporting athletes. So they support performance, stamina, strength, and endurance. So I noticed now I'm walking 2 miles a day, where before that, frankly, I wasn't walking. I was using an elliptical to bring my heart rate up, but I wasn't walking because some of you know I was in an accident, a bicycle accident 4 years ago, and I don't walk well. So I need a cane when I walk. Now it might be the first, maybe I'll develop a new sport called cane sprinting or something. I feel like I'm sprinting while I'm walking, and I'm walking about 2 miles a day right now, feeling much stronger. And when I visited with my massage therapist, I always ask her, well, what do you think? What's the leg looking like to you just if you were to objectify it? And she said, and this was last Thursday, said, your leg is looking stronger than it normally does to me. And this is a person that's contacting me on a regular basis. I see her twice a month. The global sense of well-being is the one that I'm particularly keen on, and that is experience this sense of life that's different. That although there's all this stuff going on around me, I am somehow still experiencing peace and calm, not worrying as much. And again, I'm typically a worrier. I worry about a lot of things. But I'm finding that I'm worrying far less about all the things that I was once worrying about. I'm not even, I don't know. These are the changes that have actually happened for me. So I'll be curious to hear of all the changes that occur for you over time. I've been taking the product for about two and a half months now. So I wanted to just share, let's see, how can we better manage stress with Solara, this anti-stress adaptogen formula? By taking it, and by taking it consistently. Now, of course, the company suggests that they're giving you a 30-day supply and to take 2 teaspoons a day. I take it twice a day, and I dilute it in water. And then my good friend Sue mentioned, I think it was you, Sue, who mentioned how you do that. And then I started playing with that a little bit, and it's very interesting. This less is more concept, which is a homeopathic concept. So what I do typically is I'll put 2 teaspoons in my shot glass, and then I'll fill the shot glass with water. And I've even experimented by putting it in 8 ounces of water and drinking it that way, and sipping on it, having it on my desk and sipping on it throughout the afternoon, like a slow drip into the body. Adaptogens are powerful. I want everyone to understand how powerful they are. And when you support your body consistently with this kind of plant, you can only benefit. And you can only benefit, most importantly, over time, on a timeline, moving forward. Because instead of boiling, waiting for yourself to boil, referring back to the frog and water story, now you're actually reversing that. So maybe you're going from boiling to a very, very, let's just slightly warm the water, and now I'm feeling nice. Your body is now working at an optimum level to regulate itself and self-regulate. Okay. So there are different ways to take it. You can just take 2 teaspoons a day, and you can take them in the morning. I like to take them away from food. Some people like them with. I like things on an empty stomach. That will be for you to experiment with. You can dilute it in some water. It depends. It's sweet, so you can dilute that sweetness if it's too sweet. You can take it twice a day. I may even take it more than twice a day. I was thinking my next experiment actually will be to take it probably closer to the evening hour. I'll say like 6, 7 o'clock, and see how that might enhance my sleep. So there's ways to play with these kinds. Remember, all you're doing is supporting your body with these plant. It's plant alchemy. That's what you're doing. You're adding. And it's a lot easier to add than it is to subtract. So go slow. Start with 2 teaspoons. Just start to feel into yourself. Tune into yourself. Use the tracking sheet. Understand what your stress response is, because all of you know what that is. For one person it might be brain freeze. For another person it might be absolute exhaustion. For another person like myself it might be hypertension in the middle of the chest. You need to tune into your own bio-individuality. It expresses itself each and every day as you connect more deeply with yourself. So, I did want to address the next thing on the agenda, to find answers to questions you may have about Solera and the New Eugen Company. There's a huge amount of information that's available to you, and the easiest way to access it is to actually go into your back office, log in, and take a look. In those places of your back office, I would have to go in there now to identify. Let me see. Let me go there right now real quick. Well, I don't remember the sections right off the top, name of the sections right off the top of my head. So I'm going to go into my back office just to make sure everyone knows. So when you log in, typically the latest training will be available to you right there in it looks like a video format. You just click the button and you listen to the audio. And then there's a section in the resources, product training, and there's some really good information right in that section there as well. You'll see there a number of the product videos that Mark Priemer did, and he does an excellent job. And if you've not listened to him so far, it's really worth. I really like the Solera product video 1 and video 2. Mark Priemer, again, is the formulator and the chief science officer, one of the founders and owners of New Eugen. He does a great job, and those videos I often share with people. And then a video that's a really nice video to share is also the New Eugen webinar. They've updated it, and it's actually very, very good. And then some of the other resources are Rena Davis, who talks a great deal about the healing power of plants, the stress response. She is quite articulate and she can contribute tremendously. I enjoy listening to Rena. So there's a lot of information there you'll find in your back office, and also you should know that every Monday night there's an updates call at 9 p.m. On Tuesday nights there's the science call. So for you who are particularly interested in the product, you have the science call. On Thursday nights there's kind of an overview of the opportunity in the product. So, and Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, there's a training, a detailed training, and those trainings are very good. Rob Whitty, one of the owners, does those trainings, and he's excellent. He's made a fortune in this industry, this referral marketing industry, and all I can say is that he does a really good job. He's one of the best trainers I've actually listened to in a very long time. So I've covered almost everything, and we're at 30 minutes after the hour. The last thing I want to talk about briefly is how to get excited about the magnitude of Solera's contribution to the marketplace. What does that mean, Solera's contribution to the marketplace? Well, I ask all of you, what is now more timely than to be able to give someone a support mechanism to help them to manage their own stress response? What word right now, more than any other word, do you hear everywhere in the media, whether it's advertisements or otherwise in the news? It's the word stress. And just because that's true makes this the contribution of Solera so large. So for those of you who want to add a revenue stream, I'll encourage you to talk to me. I can go over down to the penny. I've broken down the architecture of the pay plan to help you understand that it takes a very simple mindset, frankly, to accomplish this magnitude for yourself in your life and for those that you'd like to help. And what is easier to talk about than, hey, do you have any stress going on around that particular issue when you're in natural conversation with someone? That person says, are you kidding? Typically, what do they say? The common things that people share are, oh, I'm just feeling so exhausted today. Oh, I'm just feeling so stressed today. I hear that every day, day in and day out, from almost everyone that I talk to in the natural conversations that I have. Because life is full of the opportunity to actually learn how to respond more effectively, and that's what Solera, how Solera contributes to our lives. It'll enhance your ability to respond to any stress that kind of superimposes itself on your life. So get excited. Take the product consistently, experiment with the product yourself, tune into your own stressors and your own stress response, and be proactive about applying this product to your own body, of course, but sharing it with other people, because in my opinion there isn't a soul out there that can't use a product like this. So what I would ask all of you to do is bring one more person. So next call, the call doubles. I'm going to do it on Wednesday night. Give me a little feedback, everyone, on would everyone like to have it at this time, or would you like it 1 hour earlier? Well, give me feedback, everyone.
I like this time, my time 2 hours earlier, so at 7 o'clock my time. So I can get dinner and everything. And then if anybody in BC or West Coast, it's 6 o'clock. So this is terrific for me. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, works for me too.
Okay, everybody good with this?
Yep.
Are we saying 1 hour earlier? Oh.
No, we're saying we're going to keep it. It looks like everybody wants to keep it at this time. Does that work for you as well, Thelma?
Yeah, because I have Bible study.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought Bible study might end by 9. That's why I also did it at 9 here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I really want to encourage everyone to bring people to this call. The call will grow that way. Yes, we will grow a revenue stream for those of you who would like to do that for yourselves, sure. But most importantly, the way that we'll contribute to other people's lives is that those people will learn how to better respond to the stress in their life so that they don't have to boil. Because that's what happens when we're stressing. We're actually boiling ourselves. It's an odd kind of way of putting it, I guess, and maybe I'll think of other metaphors in the future. But there isn't anybody chasing us. Life is really good. Life is really beautiful. And I just want to thank all of you for coming tonight because you're all very beautiful, and I wish for all of you to have stress-free lives, and bring that message to others as well.
Thank you, Mike. That's awesome. Thanks.
All right. I'm going to say good night, everyone, because I know it's late for all of you tonight. Maybe we'll do Q&As another time, and we'll make it a shorter call. I'm going to refine this call over time. But thanks, everyone, for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.